Hi there, I'm Ben Morton, and welcome to the Leaders Kitbag, the podcast that delivers practical leadership insights in less than 10 minutes. Each episode tackles a real challenge faced by leaders and managers with simple ideas and tools you can take away and apply immediately. And because leadership doesn't happen sitting behind a desk, many of these episodes are recorded outside whilst I'm walking and thinking. They're informal, unscripted, and straight to the point. So, wherever you are, let's get started and sharpen your leadership skills one episode at a time. Think about this for a moment. Where are you physically in the world when you get your very best ideas? Where are you when you suddenly find the solution to that problem you've been wrestling with for days or even weeks? I'm fairly sure, if you're like most people, it's rarely when you're sitting at your desk. More likely, it's when you are driving your familiar commute to work. Maybe when you're swimming laps up and down in the pool, out jogging on a familiar route, or perhaps it's even when you're in the outdoors, somewhere like this. And there's a very good scientific reason behind that. There are two key brain networks at play here. The first is called the central executive network, and this is your task positive mode. It's active when you're focused on an external task, things like analysing data, making decisions, solving problems, or contributing in meetings. And it's the network we rely on for deliberate, goal-directed thinking. And as leaders, we spend a lot of time here. The second network is called the default mode network. This becomes much more active when our attention isn't focused on an external task, when we are just chatting informally with friends or colleagues, maybe when we are driving a familiar route, showering, or doing something routine. In these circumstances or situations, we're still thinking, but our thinking becomes more reflective, more associative. This is where we start to process experiences. It's where we make sense of our emotions and other people's. And it's heavily involved in perspective, understanding team dynamics, and connecting ideas in new and different ways. In simple terms, the central executive network helps you to do the work. The default mode network helps you understand the work and the people that are doing it. And here's the important part. These two networks tend to work in opposition. When one is dominant, the other quietens right down. So when your central executive network is fully engaged in activities such as back-to-back meetings, constant decision-making, and endless emailing, it means our default mode network is far less active. And this means that the brain network or region that we rely upon for reflection, perspective, and deeper meaning and sense-making is dialed right back, almost to zero. So in this respect then, finding time to disconnect and schedule activities that allow you to come up with your very best ideas and breakthrough solutions isn't just an indulgence or something to do when you have the time. It's a neurological, performance-enhancing leadership necessity. Fundamentally, leadership is about two things: tasks and people. The central executive network helps us manage the tasks. The default mode network helps us to understand the people. And if we live permanently in task mode, yes, we might gain some short-term efficiency, but we start to lose perspective. We lose the space needed for creative problem solving. And we reduce our capacity to process emotion, both ours and other people's. And perspective is one of the most valuable things a leader can offer. If our job is to support, develop, and look after the people we have the privilege and responsibility to lead so that they can deliver the results we're accountable for, then we need access to both modes of thinking. We need to be able to access the central executive network and the default mode network. We need that focused execution, and we need the time and space to reflect. I very nearly didn't go on this walk in the mountains. I was doing some work up here just on the edge of the lakes, and I wrestled for 2 weeks with whether or not to tag an extra day on to the trip. If I'm honest, at times it felt indulgent, it felt unnecessary, and there was always this voice in the back of my head saying I could be doing something much more productive in the office. But this is leadership time. And if we don't schedule it deliberately, it simply does not happen. The urgent will always crowd out the important, every single time. So here are 2 questions for you to think about and act upon as a result of this episode of the Leader's Kitbag. Number 1, when do you create the time and space where your focus isn't locked on to a specific task? And number 2, what are your default mode network activities that enable you to come up with those brilliant ideas? Is it being on a long walk in the countryside with your dog, yoga, gardening, or like me, being in the great outdoors and the mountains? And here's the key point. Whatever those activities are, we must prioritize them and get them scheduled into our diaries. Because for the leaders amongst us, we're not just paid to do, we're paid to think, to reflect, and bring perspective. And to do that, we need to activate our default mode network. That's it for this episode of the Leader's Kitbag. Look after yourself and those you've got the privilege and responsibility to lead. And until next time, lead on. Before you head off, if you enjoy the ideas we explore together here on the Leader's Kitbag, and you'd like to go a little deeper, then I've created a new leadership program designed specifically for busy leaders and managers. It focuses on the practical side of leadership, the mindset, skills, and tools that help you support your people, make better decisions, and get the results you're accountable for. The program is delivered live and online over several half-day sessions, making it practical and perfect to fit in around the day job. If that sounds useful, you can find out more details via the link in the show notes. That's it for now. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next program very soon. And until then, look after yourself and those you've got the privilege and responsibility to lead.